right, welcome back. This is Wake Up Sierra Leone on AYV television and radio. We encourage you to join the broadcast on Facebook, search for AYV News, drop a comment or question, and we would make a conscious effort to add them to the program as we go along.
All right, for sure is Wake Up Sierra Leone here on AYV television, on channel 33 and DSTV, channel 399, and on radio FM 101.7. Now, in our first segment, it's only two political parties that have completed nominations for all positions ahead of the June 24th multi-tier elections. This morning, to discuss the nominations, the petitions, and campaigns, we have with us in the studio from the Electoral Commission, Henry Jusufu Soare, who is the Director for Data Management and Voters Roll at the Electoral Commission for Sierra Leone. Good morning, Henry, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning, viewers. Good morning, AYV. Thank you for having this morning.
So, Henry, let's start off with some updates. Where are we in terms of the programs that have been outlined by the Commission leading up to the June polls?
Okay, thank you very much. You know, for every electoral cycle, there are a series of activities which actually take you to the poll. For each of those activities, you have specific timelines for each of those activities. So for the 2023 election, we started with the voter registration exercise, which was completed successfully. And then after that, we had to go back to data duplication, that is to get rid of those that have registered multiple times. And then immediately after the exercise, we actually exhibited the role where citizens were given the opportunity to actually go and verify the information at location where they register. And after that process, we went back. After data collection, we had some update from the field, and that took us to another level to print the ID cards, and then the ID cards were also distributed to citizens where they register. And currently, we are now doing fine and mopping up on the register, because during the collection of cards, we realized people move to certain centers and then their cards are displayed, placed in another center. So we actually roll out an application to make sure those people are brought back to their respective centers. And once that happens, we are now bringing back those people to their respective, where they actually registered before, and then after that, we now have a final rule. And then for those that we have relocated,
that is not. It's not clear. Let's say, for example, I registered at AYV, but then in terms of collection, I did not collect at AYV. So I collected at SLBC, so to speak.
No, you actually presented yourself at AYV.
But my card was not available.
But your card was not at AYV.
Okay.
So what happened, we actually roll out a mobile application. So when you submit your details, there's an app which was actually deployed in the field, and then once your details are key into that application, it actually point to the location where your card is. But in order not to disenfranchise you, what we did was to make sure we have a paper trail, like we call it attestation, confirming that indeed Mr. A registered at this location, but his card was misplaced. So we are going to get back those cards and then have them reprinted and then issue back to those that are actually affected.
How would the issuance process be like? Are you going to again go back to the centers that people collected their cards where they registered?
Okay, for this set of people, we're actually talking about a smaller number.
What's the number?
Say again, we are talking about roughly 16,000.
Okay.
That have been relocated. That is not up to 1% of the total population. In terms of registered voters. So what we intend to do, we have already given them attestation. Attestation is equivalent to
all 16,000.
Yeah, we are giving them attestation, which is also equivalent to the voter's ID card. So even if you are not chance to collect your ID card, you can use that attestation to actually cast your vote.
Then how soon will they receive their ID cards? Because the ID cards are not just meant for the voting. People use them for daily transactions, sending money, receiving money, anything that requires some form of identification. So how soon are these people expecting, or should these people expect to receive their ID cards?
We are concluding the data validation process by today. And once that is done, the vendor is already on standby to make sure that those particular details are sent to them. And as soon as they are printed, before they go to the poll, they definitely get their ID cards.
How?
The how is we have contact for them. We have mobile phone numbers for almost all of them. And then we are also using our, we call them election coordinators. They are in contact with most of them. So like the cards will be shipped to them and then they can trace them and get back. Some are going to actually collect the cards at the district offices as they are currently doing.
What happens to those people who had traveled to other parts of the country to collect their voter ID cards?
Come again?
What happens to those people who traveled to other parts of the country to pick up their voter ID cards? It's still in regards to this. There's a case of a lady who brought it to my attention. She registered in Freetown. Her card was sent all the way to Pujeon. And she was encouraged by the officers there to go all the way to Pujeon and collect her ID card. And last time we spoke, she was very much intending in going to Pujeon to pick up her ID card. So for people like that, what happens to them?
Unfortunately, that was not the instruction given to them in terms of the field staff. It was not part of our mandate to actually refer people to go where the cards are. The intention is, during the voter registration exercise, you have to configure each of the device for a specific location. Okay, now what some of the staff did during that process, instead of like configuring this particular center for AYV, mistakenly they configure it for SLBC. So meaning when your cards are printed, even though you presented yourself at AYV, but because the kit was misconfigured for SLBC, definitely your card is going to fall at SLBC. But the instruction given to them was make sure when people appear at the center, the first thing you have to confirm is the center code, which is written on the update slip which was given to them. If you don't find the card, you have the app which you can search the person detail, and it just points to where the card is. Beyond that point, we have series of options. We did not tell any staff to actually refer them to go and get their cards where the card is, but rather give them attestation, and then once the card is now printed, we can contact the person and give it back to them. That was the message given to them.
Well,
not to actually
from the voter registration process to the picking up of ID cards, there were some reports of the staff who did contrary to what the institution guided them to do. That aside, this is the situation as it stands. What would happen to those people who made the effort to travel all the way to another part of the country to pick up their ID cards?
I've said
would
that,
those ID cards still be valid, or would you render them invalid once their ID cards are reprinted and sent to the correct locations?
Okay, if you move to Pujeon, for instance, like the lady just mentioned, if she has picked that card up at a center in Pujeon, meaning she has already accepted to cast her vote in Pujeon, but in the event she wants to come back to Freetown, which if she was not given attestation, it means she definitely had to travel to go to Pujeon. She was not supposed to go to Pujeon to have actually collected that card. That would have been but because she has now moved ahead to go and collect the card in Pujeon.
So where you collect your card is where you're going to cast your vote.
But now that there's both the attestation and the card, what happens?
No, if you collect your cards in Pujeon, she was not given attestation.
She was given an attestation.
She was given?
In Freetown, but still advised to go to Pujeon and pick up her card, because according to her, she was making it a big issue because she wanted her card. So the lady at the desk advised her to go to Pujeon and pick up the card. So there's both attestation. So what happens?
If she was, I'm sure, she was relocated to Freetown. I'm sure. Because where did she collect? If you collect the attestation in Freetown, it means your detail has been transferred to Freetown. So she will be among those cards that will be reprinted. And she can only use one of those cards because you can only have one voter number on the day of the election. You cannot have two. So we're going to reprint the cards as long as she has, opted to get her card. We are going to do a reprint of those cards, and then she can collect her card right in Freetown.
Henry, sorry, let me probably make it clearer. In a situation now where you have the attestation from the location you registered, and then we've already confirmed the misconception from some of the staff. In this case, this lady advised to go to Pujeon, and then she picks up the ID card from Pujeon. what happens when the new cards are reprinted? I'm asking you this because it helps somebody who's confused somewhere.
Yeah.
And also, if people have access to attestation, a card from somewhere, and a reprinted card, where does that leave us in voting? You could come vote here today, and if you feel like being mischievous enough, you could probably find other means to get to that other location and vote with the other ID card. So having this in mind, that this is the situation as it is, what is the way forward to prevent election irregularities?
Okay, let me just make this point clear. You have only one voter ID number, okay? You have only one. So even, let's say in the case of the lady you're talking about, she has gone to Pujon to collect the ID card. She only went to Pujon because she actually wanted the ID card maybe for identification purpose. But in terms of voting, where she was given the attestation, her vote has now been transferred to that particular center, which is in Freetown. So if you have attestation for Freetown and then you have a card from Pujon, what is clear is that whatever voter ID number you have on your card is what you have on your attestation. And for us at the data center, what we are going to do is the attestation is what we are currently processing. That vote is going to be relocated from Pujon back to Freetown. So on the day of the poll, she has to present herself to...
Stay with us, Henry. Let's quickly welcome the Chief Executive Officer for Chadi, Abdul Fatoma. Good morning. Welcome to Wake Up Sierra Leone, Abdul.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
All right. Henry, there's a critical concern at this point by the All People's Congress Party, asking or giving a weak ultimatum to the Commission with regards to ID cards, thinking that they are not authentic and therefore should not be used for virgin polls, which in essence the party is saying postpone the elections. We cannot use these cards. They are not authentic. What does the Commission make of that call?
I think in terms of voting, the primary tool for identification is whatever data the Commission has for you, and that's what we are going to match with whatever data you present to us. Okay. As far as the Commission is concerned, people have gone out to collect their voter ID cards, and I can say that almost 2.8 million cards have been collected as I speak. So to say the cards are not authentic, we can validate our voter ID cards, and I don't think there is anywhere where a single person has actually pop up with two cards to say I've got two, I've got more than one in such a case, except maybe through dubious activities like we are getting reports. Some people are like going to some of our staff doing the exercise to actually collect remaining cards from them. Maybe that's it. Yes, I will elaborate on that further. Okay. But to say the cards are not authentic, that's not true. The cards, if you look at the voter ID cards, with the exception of the photo, which some are bad, you have gray background. The card itself is a colored ID card. And then we have your name written on it clearly with your address, your center code, and the voter number, which is unique for every registered Sierra Leonean. So to say the card is not authentic, we want to see where, if you have the possibility of reproducing those cards, these are cards that cannot be reproduced to start with. They have some hidden features, which you can only view them through a magnifier or a microscope. You can also attest to that and verify if you want to. And then we have other layers of security that are also embedded in this card. So even if you go out to do a photocopy of those cards, you will definitely miss out those features that are embedded in this card. So as far as we are concerned, and the All People's Congress, I believe, when the flag bearer for the All People's Congress, he went to a center and he collected his card. I don't think when he got to that center, he was actually asked for any form of identification. What he presented was a mere paper which was given to them, and that paper hasn't got anything like face. However, the staff at the center were actually able to pick out his card and issue it to him, meaning having the face is not just what the ID card is about. We have a unique identifier for every registered Sierra Leonean, and that is the voter ID number, which is unique for each and every person. So if you get to the polling station, nobody is going to ask you where is your face is not clear. The first thing they ask you is, what is your name? So if I say I'm Mohammed Kamara, the search takes you straight, because the names are ordered in alphabetical order. So you move straight to the Mohammed, the Kamara, and then you have the A, B, C, and then you move on to the M for the Mohammed in this case. So once you find that, you now match that with the number the person is actually presenting. And don't forget that on the voters roll, you have the images are going to be printed in color. They are big enough for you to see the face of the person. So it's difficult to for someone to say the cards are not authentic and then they cannot use them for June 2023. For me, I can say if you take your cards to those centers, definitely you are going to cast your vote and we'll be able to verify your face against what you have on the printed polls.
So there are no challenges with the cards when it comes to voting day?
No, not at all. Because I'll give you a simple scenario. When you went to collect your card, okay, we are able to trace your card and issue it to you, right? Without asking you for any form of ID card that carries photo. So I don't think that's going to be a challenge. And I just want to say to Sierra Leoneans out there, let's not take these things like say we are trying to send a bad message to people not to actually go. Go to the polling station on the day of the election and we make sure you are verified and then you cast your vote. As long as you have a voter ID card that is coming from the Electoral Commission. I'm not saying you go to the back door, you print card and then present them. But once you have those cards,
and you mentioned that
definitely you will cast
dubious activity with some of Sierra Leoneans and members of your commission. So please, you want to elaborate and clear that for us?
Which one?
The issue about having ID cards using the back door, the voter ID cards.
Using the back door?
Yes.
We have got complaints. Like yesterday, we had some instances where we saw a good number of cards. In fact, the police have made some arrests. We are bringing the cards back to our data center where we are going to validate those cards against what we have in our system. And apart from, if you have a photocopier, you can just take those cards and then you photocopy them. And then after photocopying, you will see those black border lines you see around the cards. Okay, they are not border lines. But from the mere look of the card, you will see that they are just like border. Take a magnifier. They are clear writings that you see around those cards. So when you use your magnifier, you can clearly see what is written there. And we don't want to. So even if somebody attempts to go and design, you can design, but then how those characters were actually laid on those sheets, you find it difficult to actually implement if you are not part of the design process.
So you would, obviously, the ECSL would be able to pick out the difference between the authentic ECSL issued cards and the fabricated cards. Yeah,
if you bring any card to our polling station, we are not going to issue stuff with magnifier to actually, verify the cards. But what is clear here is almost 99.9% of voters have their facial representation on the roll. So if you print the cards and you are going to be somebody, of course, for which you are not, yes, I will look at the card initially, but when I compare what I have on the roll does not match with your, with your photo, definitely police, you'll be handed over to the police for appropriate action.
All right, thank you. Fatoma, let's bring you in on this. It's quite interesting the way the conversation is proceeding. We picked up voter ID cards a while back, and we have the political parties going through nominations. The APC is one of the political parties that has completed nominations. They have their presidential candidate now. At this time, now bringing up issues with the voter ID card. The question is it timely? Being that we've passed that and we've come to the nominations, they're done with it, no issues on that. Now we're talking about the voter ID cards.
Maybe just before Fatoma answer that question, Phoebe, I think we have to, let's just predicate that question on these videos when the two presidential candidates actually went out to collect their cards. And let's see what they had to say.
After the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone announced the 7th April to 17th April as dates to collect voter identity cards, several people were in different centers to collect their IDs. Dr. Samura Kamara, presidential candidate for the All People's Congress, was among those who showed up at Mafa Field in Lumley to collect his voter ID card.
Agami District, Western Area, Urban, Center Code, Ide, last name Kamara, chief name Samura Marty Wilson, sex male, date of birthday, address day. This one, you better pass the last one. Because the last one, I go register in Akamalo, then can't put my name in a Brookfields. But still I vote.
He urged citizens to be patient in the process, stating that the first day is always challenging.
You get a right for vote. But for now you vote, you get for collect your card. You get your certificate. When you come, you collect your card, you check your details them. If they're not right, you lay complaint. If we know, we go pursue the complaints them. A bit slow, it's a bit slow. But the slowness, you can't order the type of. Suspect say it's in alphabetical order. Sometimes when now day one, subsequent days, sometimes it will improve, it will become faster. But I want to just speak to people, let them be patient, let them get endurance, let them bear. We get a number of days for collect these cards. Not so, let them bear take the period done. When the time they reach, we go check. If people then they don't collect their card, we go ask ECSL for more time. Let's see, don't go discuss them.
While commenting on the rampant destruction of banners, Dr. Samora Kamara says the Political Party Regulation Commission and Sierra Leone Police should put out a statement on the issue.
You when they go point poster, well, we'll have to give the security forces. If not people that way honest, if not people that way sincere, where they protect the civilians then go protect everybody in banner, everybody in poster. But you know go to have then spoil your own poster, you know arrest person. When them spoil the other man your own poster, you go arrest them. You know right, you should be fair. Not the pastor go complain. You shall go see. So I want to let the police and PPRC let them make a statement. I didn't for make a statement about this. Me, by my nature, I'm a God-fearing person. I'm a very peaceful person. My own politics, what they practice, not to fight. I know what I want to do for my people them. And I'm here, and after they tell me people them. I want them to take me in confidence. When the people then trust you, then get faith in you, then take you in confidence, no need for faith. And me, politics, not to the end for me. This country, I don't really achieve for Sierra Leone.
The collection of the voter identity card will continue till the 17th April 2023. Joseph Johnson, AYV News, Freetown.
President Bio drove himself in a white SUV to the hockey pitch polling center on the first day of the voter ID card distribution exercise to be among the first people to collect the voter IDs. The process started today, 7th April, and ends on 16th April 2023. President Bio says he leads by example to show that all citizens who registered must collect theirs to be able to exercise the political right of voting in the June 24 elections.
The best thing we can do for the country now for make sure the election process and the election itself very, very peaceful. One person you go chair anybody in picture, it shows say you're not a civilized person. In a democracy, everybody get right to advertise himself, and once it done peacefully and once it done according to the law, we not for chair one paper for anybody, you not for curse anybody, you not for touch anybody. Me get a message which is simple. I don't make it clear. I've been telling everything I want to do for this country. I don't do my best under the circumstances, and I intend to do more when I get a second chance from the people of this country. I will appeal to anybody who they support me, not for chair anybody in one picture or engage in any act of vandalism.
However, the monitoring process by the British High Commission in Freetown has not gone unnoticed, as the British High Commissioner Lisa Chesney and team were part of the election observation groups noticed at hockey pitch. Lisa Chesney said they will cover 7 centers on the first day, but will visit different centers across the country during the week-long activity. She noted that CSOs and other diplomatic missions are also part of the observation to be informed on the process.
This is a really important stage in the electoral process. So we, the British High Commission, will send out observation teams at each key stage of the electoral process. We're not here to interfere, we're not here to get involved, but we're here to observe what's happening. So what we do is we look at how is the process working, how accessible are the centres, is everybody able to collect their voter card and fulfil their right to vote. So we look at different aspects.
The SLPP mayoral candidate in Freetown, Mohammed Gento Kamara, also collected his voter ID card at the Tennis Court Centre and sent out a message to citizens.
Beg everybody for doing this peacefully, you understand?
I am encouraging all citizens to do this peacefully, and I want people to know that this is everybody's right to get a voter's ID card and prepare to vote for whoever you think is the right person to bring about change.
When the voter registration started, there were numerous challenges. During the verification also, people experienced challenges. And previously, before President Bio collected his voter ID, I spoke to some of the people that registered here to find out if some of the challenges have been addressed.
From this 6 o'clock, just after Subha prayer, and I come. But like the people...
I came here from 6 a.m. after the early morning prayer. We've gone through a lot of constraints because they only have few staff. They should have made provision for 3 or 4 distribution desks because this is a crowded community.
Those that have collected their ID cards are not even up to 50 yet. Since we came here at 7 o'clock this morning, we are still here and have not been able to get our ID cards. The process is too slow.
When asked to respond on the challenges highlighted by some people at Hockey Pitch, this is what the Electoral Commission...
Right. We needed to go back in time to those moments of, when the cards were collected by both the presidential candidates and, other aspirants. But coming back to it, Fatoma, the process wrapped up a month ago on April 16th, and today is the 16th already. Is it timely that the APC is now bringing this up when, during the collection period, their presidential candidate was very clear about the quality of the voter ID card?
Yeah, and one thing for us is credible elections are built on a societal agreement, and this includes all political actors, should be entwined with democratic principles. When once voters and parties take on their own personal goals and personal objectives, ahead of democratic principles, election suffers. I mean, that is exactly the scene we are witnessing now in Sierra Leone. And when the registration process was going on, concerns were raised, and Ecsl had a dialogue, I believe so, because the organizations that I partner with, the Interreligious Council, Eminent Women, and Ecsl, the Election Conflict Prevention, we create a corridor, with aggrieved political party to the Ecsl and also, the security sector in this country. We have been facilitating, those concerns since by-elections and towards the elections. I mean, several personalities within opposition's political party, like the NGC or the APC, and also the SLPP, the ruling party, they have benefited, from our mediation processes, during by-elections, before by-elections, or after by-elections, if they have issues of result or issues concerning, Ecsl issues. So what we're witnessing now is we having Sierra Leoneans who believe that they are not interested in Sierra Leone democratic process, the fact that it doesn't shape towards the size of them. But this is what you enjoy from politicians. We have the international community observe the collection of the ID process, the registration process, and the ID cards have been out. Huge numbers of politicians and citizens of this country have already collected their ID card. And a petition was not made, immediately in the first week. Declarations were made by politicians that this is good. And the major concern earlier when the ID cards were out was the dark photo or the unidentified individuals on those cards. And what the ECSL does, to the public, they called a press conference. I watched that from my hotel room in Washington, where they apologized to the people of this country and that they're going to rectify those issues. So during that, I believe in the process, they also need to work with political parties to ensure that the process is transparent, credible, so we can have a free and fair process, a process that we all can trust as a country. But at this point in time, and getting a notice, from a political party and a citizen of this country that the ID card does have a problem, it's faulty. So does that
is it too late for the APC to come up with these concerns?
It's never too late to raise any genuine concerns, but we have to establish what are the genuinity in this concern. You have nominated your political party, a candidate that will be contesting for this election. And those who nominated, not even the nominated people, but those who nominated those people, one of their key verifications for them to qualify to nominate you was to present their registered voter's card. And the authentication of that approved by the ECSL.
So by their participation for the nomination signifies endorsement of the cards?
That's what clearly, undermine the credibility on which they want to establish that the faultiness of this card, right? If you are saying that there is a fault to this card, then you allowed your membership to use that card to nominate your political representative who will, if they win, be representing us in our different community or also at national level, to rule us. So you have already accepted that this card is good only for your own purpose to nominate your people. But when it comes now to the general elections, you are now saying that this card doesn't fit for purpose. Establishing your premise that this card doesn't fit for purpose at the onset, before the nomination, rejecting that we are not going to participate in this nomination exercise because the card that we have a problem with, we have issue with, we are not going to validate it to actually use it as one of the
as you say that, we would have loved to actually get a response from the APC, but also it is very important that we inform our audience that we invited the All People's Congress Party. They promised sending a representative here this morning, only for the producer to receive a text that they will not participate in the conversation this morning because they're expecting an engagement with the elections office today. So, as you were saying, we needed to have established that with our audience. As you were saying, Phoebe asked the question. The presidential candidate who has been nominated by the party, when he collected his ID card, his card, mentioned that the card, in fact, he compared the card to the previous card, which he said this card is better than the previous card. So, you talked about the genuinity of their concerns. Where does this put the process? Coming after a month, after the face of the party in the elections has agreed that the card is better than the previous one, where does this concern put the process? This
actually shows a lot of disagreement. If somebody who you all have agreed within your political party, and you have already marketed that individual to the people of this country to decide if he is the better alternative to rule this country for the next 5 years. And then you are deliberately now having a strong disagreement with his own public views that have already been recorded and archived, you know, in mobile phones and other, you know, devices. But the reality here is that let's look at their concerns against the state. Like I keep emphasizing, how genuine is this concern against the state? It's not about politics. It's about the welfare and the democracy of this country. And what we have been talking about is to ensure that we have a credible, free, and fair elections. And with that, the ECSA and other EMBs, and also the security sector, should open their doors for dialogue. We should go to the table and discuss this issue. But then, if you allowed your membership, my emphasis here is that if you allow your membership to collect these cards, right? And even based, because we work with ECSA and we work with interreligious and eminent women, based on our other credible sources, also members of political party, the opposition political party, approaching the ECSA to collect cards from the ECSA to also distribute those cards on and on behalf of ECSL. I mean, which is also wrong. If they would have agreed to that, that would have, you know, undermined the electioneering process very largely. But it's sad that the ECSL, you know, they are unable to name and shame those people. By naming them and shaming them, these are also part of, you know, a process of building trust. But if we have an ECSL that can compromise those serious and sensitive issues, we shouldn't get worried. I mean, they are our partners, but they very well know that. I call them out. Some people like me and some people don't like me, which I appreciate so much. I have no problem with them. But now, if you actually allow your membership, huge chunk of your membership, you put a megaphone to your membership to go out and collect these cards, to go out and collect these cards and keep these cards very safely and ensure that during elections day, you go out and vote. And only a few weeks more to elections. And you said that we are going to do a peaceful protest. Protest is a fundamental right to every citizen, you know, in democratic society. Sierra Leone is one. Sadly enough, we have not been enjoying our right to protest in this country, which is another hanger with me personally as a human rights practitioner. So, but however, if you are out protesting, ensure that your protest has a fundamental reason, you know, asking for social change or a change in something.
Yes, go ahead.
And Fatoma, with the submission of Henry, I know you want to respond to something he said. Okay, let's allow you do that quickly.
Yeah, in terms of authenticating the ID card, which you already mentioned. Okay, this is the first time the ECSA roll out an online nomination process. And these are some of the issues we actually pick up during the online process. We allow political parties to use our system, using the ID card which was given to them to nominate all candidates for local council, parliamentary, mayor, chairperson, onto presidential. I think...
was that the only identification required, the voter ID card?
Yeah, it was...
Or were other forms of, you know, national identification accepted?
No, for you to go through the nomination process, what was the... I mean, the key thing for you to actually go through the process is our voter ID reference number, which almost all the political parties actually use. And then if you actually attempt...
Almost all, you say?
Yeah, they all, because I mean in terms of the nomination process, because almost all the political parties went through the nomination process. Going through nomination, what I'm saying, all the political parties, is not about completeness. You can go to Kabbalah, you have only 2 councillors. You go to Bo, you can fill in all the positions. You go to Ken Malasan, but all the 13 political parties actually did some form of nomination. And what is clear during that process is, if you attempt to key in any ID that is not valid, our system with, I mean, pop up and say, no, this particular voter ID is not...
We should be heading for the news summary, but still clarify that. You say any ID. So aside from the voter ID, was national passport, national ID, driver's license accepted on the platform?
No, what I mean, what I said, if you key in any ID number, not ID, any ID number.
That is not the voter ID.
No, I mean from the voter ID cards. If you key in that...
Sorry, Henry, we would need more time to confirm that. It's 9 o'clock. I was trying to get clarification on the identification that was required for nomination.
Yeah.
Was it exclusively ECSL voter registration card?
Yeah.
Or were other forms of national identification
No, just
accepted?
the ECSL voter registration card. The point I was trying to make here is if you say the cards are not authentic, and then we roll out the platform and we ask all the political parties to use that platform to do their candidate nomination for all the elections. And I believe the All People's Congress did their online nomination for presidential, and it was live at our head office, where we actually did the confirmation by just keying the voter ID of all the candidates. We could see their information popping up, and then it was at that same venue that we actually approved for the Chief Electoral Commissioner. What I'm trying to make here is, are those numbers being like fictitious number or coming from anywhere? It would not allow them to actually go through the process. And the system was also built using our main system. I mean, that was the back end. So if you key in voter ID that are not within our system, I mean, the system will definitely flag those voter and say, no, this is not part of our system. So that's just tell you, if you are able to go through the nomination process for the presidential using the ID card, I mean, they did the same thing for parliamentary. You're able to fill all the seats across all districts using this one ID card. I mean, and that process has also ended. We have submitted a report to the commission for all the categories of the nomination process. And then coming back to say the card is not authentic, I mean, it would have been a room for them to have just used any kind of number to have actually done the nomination process. But that did not happen. They had to rely on our voter ID card, which was issued to them, to actually go through the nomination process. That just says that what we have out there as voter registration card is authentic, and it is acceptable within our electoral cycle for this year. That's why if you attempt to key in other, like the one we used for the 2012 or 2018, it definitely be flawed by our system because it's no longer part of our system. And that's one main thing why we actually decided to move away from the old voter ID. Some people are raising concern, oh, now we are seeing new voter ID. We say, yes, we have never used one voter ID number for 2 electoral cycles because we know serial unions. During the registration process, people are also arrested. We have a very good number of them, 400. What they did was, the last ID card, they just remove the slip and then take your number, insert it, and then do a printout of that. So they use those ones to go out doing the registration exercise. So when they key in those fake ID numbers, you will see it is actually Mr. Fatoma's ID, which was, taken by somebody else. So when you key in into our system, you see instead of Fatoma's face coming up, you see Fibian. So we arrested most of them and we were handed over to police. So that's how we authenticate our voter ID number. So what we have for this circle is authentic, and if you want to try it, you can try, but definitely the system will catch you.
The voter ID cards, people use them not only, well, for the ECSL mainly, it's for voting. But for the citizens, it's beyond just election day. People use them for all sorts of transactions that requires forms of identification. But the quality of some of the voter ID cards would sort of perhaps prohibit people from using it, especially those people who their images are not clear. It's going to be a challenge. And ECSL, of course, did pay for the voter ID cards. And this is far below the quality of the cards that the ECSL was expecting. What has the ECSL done for the team that was hired to do the printing of the cards? The service delivery is not where it's supposed to be.
In terms of, talking about the quality of the cards, the cards were printed based on the specification that's actually given to the vendor.
That it should be in black and white?
No, I'm coming. The photos, we had issue with the photos that was given to the vendor. We have to make this clear. If you look at the entire card, the back of the card is all colored. The front of the card is colored, except for the portion where we had the photo. So it was the photo that was actually sent. You know, during the voter registration process, we had what we call in our system if you have images are things that are difficult to actually manage. I mean, so we had the original images in the system, and then when you have them, we are talking about over.
So if you're saying it's not the fault of the printers, where did the error come from?
Yeah,
that's
the point I'm trying to make now. So during the registration exercise, we had a database over 200 gig, okay, and then if you want to deploy that database on a simple laptop, which was used in the field, it's going to take you more time. So what we did at the back end was to how do we actually downsize the image. So we converted those images to thumbnail. Thumbnail is a smaller, I mean, when you convert the image to thumbnail, it makes it
so from
smaller
that point you kill the quality.
Lighter. So I mean, it was able like to process people easily. So what happened during the extraction, I mean, of the roll for the cards printing, those are the photos that are actually sent to the vendor.
The reduced quality.
Yeah, very good.
But the reduced quality may reduce the, the pixels, but the color, to change it from a colored photo to black and white.
Whenever you have photos and then you want to have them reduced, okay, we normally convert them to what we call thumbnail. That's a grayscale image, just to have the size manageable. So we had over 200, as I said, and then when we did that, our database came down to something like 40 gig, which was, we were able to actually upload on all the kits easily. But as you already said, for the ECSL, we are not defending the bad photos, but our cards are meant for identifying voters during the polls. That's where
let's come back to the photos quickly. So you're saying the error came from the ECSL. You sent black and white images to the printers.
Yeah.
So it's not the fault of the printers, but the ECSL.
Yeah. And so initially, so what we did, we have gone back to the NCI. We have completed that process. We have got because the initial data was extracted from the NCI system that had our actual photos. And we have gone back to the ECSL. We have to the NCI. We have now got those photos. And before, it was just too late for me to pass to the office and then get the current roll that we are producing. So on the day of the polls, you will see that we are going to have colored photos on the actual poll books and not the green one that you have on the ID cards.
All right. Gentlemen, let's allow us to run through some messages. We have many messages here this morning to go. Well, we will not take any campaign message at this point because ECSL is yet to declare officially campaign open. So we'll just go straight to the messages that speak to the issue we're discussing. I think this presidential election is definitely going to be postponed to correct the wrong done by these ID cards. Mohammed Kanu is saying.
Sise K. Ibrahim says the ECSL is not sincere with the people of Mama Saloon. ECSL, we need good voter ID cards for our people.
Aliyu Bai is saying, why has the ECSL not submitted the disaggregated voter register to the political parties as was claimed by some political parties?
Samuel, please continue.
All right. Musa Siaka Kamara is saying, it sounds ironical on the side of the APC party. On one hand, their flag bearer Samuel Kamara said this particular voter ID card is far better than the last one we used in 2018 by calling on the vital information available on the card publicly, and now the APC Secretary General is condemning and using all kinds of phrases about the same ID card. The man wants for to be president accepted.
Musa Chaka Kamara says, as we speak up to now, huge number of people in Freetown particularly have not collected their ID cards, even when ECSL is telling them that the cards are still available at their offices, both Western Rural and urban ECSL offices.
Mohammed Kanu, the cards are not authentic at all. My brother, you have to be a true patriot for Mama Saloon.
Abdullahi B. Lukule says APC party is not confident of winning the June 24 general elections. They have seen the declining number of their supporters and increasing support for SLPP party. It's too late for the APC to come out with the option that voter ID cards should be reissued. It's too late for them to boycott the election.
Some content saying Samuel Kamara endorsed the ECSL voter ID card, and now the APC National Secretary General, they say ECSL for cancel the voter ID card or they go on nationwide protest.
Joseph John Lahai says this is just cheap. How can the ECSL rely on Dr. Samuel Kamara's ID card to say all the cards are okay when he was talking about his ID?
Please, I do not see any problem for voter registration. As far as I'm concerned, the voter registration identification card is meant for voting. Please, Sierra Leoneans, we have national identification cards. If you want to travel, you can use it anywhere. Please, we encourage our people to go and have it instead of discouraging people not to go and vote, Lahai Bob is saying.
Ronald George Stone says, maybe it would be better for other forms of ID cards used like passports, driving license, which will make those without ID cards vote during the elections, because this ID saga is making ECSL a laughingstock.
All right. Abdullah B. Lukule is saying APC party is not confident of winning the June 24 general elections. They have seen the declining number of their supporters and increasing support for SLPP party. It's too late. Okay, Phoebe, you've gone through that.
Rahim, brother says, Padenkaim Bokumonide. Then people will go print different ID card. The ACC no able for investigate.
Boss Ele Adwazak is saying, despite the mistake on the voter's ID card, we just have to be law-abiding citizens, go out and vote come June 24th, because I don't think they would postpone this election.
Abdullah Abu Toure says, shameless people, with all the huge sum that you guys collected, you still cannot produce better quality ID cards, and the senseless ones are supporting you, thinking that they're doing APC. Salon betterment is still in the hands of the evil.
Mr. Fatoma, I respect you as from today. Thank you, and I believe that the truth brings peace, unity, and development in any civilized country. Muhammad Kano is saying.
Marian Mansaye says, AYV, please tell the ECSL man that ID numbers can be duplicated, but face cannot be duplicated. The face is the most unique feature of the ID card, not the ID number. This is recipe for problem.
All right, my final message is from Amadou Kabu saying the voter register is more important than the ID card, and we've been promised that the picture on the register are going to be colored. With or without ID, one would vote.
And Victor Fode says, so the most important things on the voter card is the number on the card. Thanks, ECSL. All right, those are the messages we'll take for now. Your response to those messages.
Yeah, I think now we first of all start with the one that says we have not given political parties this aggregated voter. Okay, you know, we went to similar process in 2018, and then there's a period for voter, given to Sierra Leoneans that want to transfer their vote. And let's assume you had a particular center before now has about 2,000 voters, okay? And immediately after the compilation, you dish out those records to political parties. Then after the transfer of voters from one location to another, it means some quota are going to increase while others are going to decrease. So what we don't want here is to dish out information at this time. Then when we have the final, we have the same political parties complaining that, oh, initially they gave us 2 and it's now 3. We don't want that. We had similar case with the transfer of 1 mayoral candidate in the last election. That was the current, the current mayor. Okay, she was in the Western Rural, and then her vote was transferred. We are ordered by the court. So whatever happened, we reduced the Western Rural, total by 1 and increased Freetown by 1. So we have to do all of those updates, and then we come up with the final, and that's what we are doing. I'm sure by the end of this weekend, we now have disaggregated for almost all centers we can now share with political
final
parties.
Data.
Yeah. So that's the reason why we have not done that. Even if you can just move to our data center at Wellington, we see currently as I speak, we have over 30 staff that are currently working there just to make sure we finalize the output that came out from the card distribution process. That's what we are doing. And then when that is finalized, we can share that with all people. We did it in 2018, and we are definitely going to do that. Somebody said, on the text that said you can duplicate numbers but you cannot duplicate phases. I agree. But that's not true. I can also duplicate phases and also duplicate numbers. It is possible. I can take your photo, put it on this one, and I take the same photo, put another card. So what we are saying here is, on our voters' roll, even if you have 10, 1, 2, 3, 4 as voter ID numbers, our system is validated in such a way that only one of those numbers will be on the poll. So you go ahead and produce voter ID numbers that are not part, and you don't even know where that particular number is being placed. So if you go and produce numbers, the ID cards, when you get to the polling station, those numbers will not be part of our system. And secondly, moving away from the voter ID, there are several. On the cards, you have limited data, but on the roll, your mother's name is on your roll, your father's name, your phone number if available, your address, your date of birth. So
and all of those details will be checked before you cast your vote.
So it doesn't mean, even if you approach a center where you actually register, and let's assume you have misplaced your voter ID card. Right. The commission is not going to say because you have misplaced your card, you are going back home. No. We are going to process it based on, we now look at what's your name? Oh, I'm Musa Kamara. You go down to the camera, you find Musa. That's just one part of it. And then the next step is, I'm going to ask you, do you have a phone number? I give you 076-1234. It's there. Your mother's name, my mother's name is Asita Conte. Father's name is this, the address. And then finally, I look at your photo. Those are just confirmation which you do. So it's not like when somebody say you duplicate numbers, you can duplicate them, but in our system, there will be only one of such number which you intend to duplicate.
So with all of these concerns coming up, Sierra Leoneans are more interested in having a free, fair, and credible electioneering process. So what's the level of assurance would you want to give to Sierra Leoneans that trust, confidence should be the hallmark of the commission? Because at the end of the day, you are the referee. You have to determine the future of this country based on the decision that will be made by Sierra Leoneans when they go to the polls in June.
Yeah. What I know or believe, this is not the first time the ECS has conducted election.
Right.
We have been with that commission for over 15 years. I have presided over data management for the cycle over 3 cycles, in 2012, 18, and now this one. So I'm not, almost all the issues around cards, the role, I'm familiar with them, and we've been addressing them. What we want to ensure as a commission is, when you get to the poll, to the polling station, we are trying as much as possible to make sure that you cast your vote based on what the ECS has validated against you. For example, if we are given a card for center 2002, our objective is to ensure that you get to that center and then you cast your vote peacefully and then you move out of that polling station, go back home, and then you wait. In terms of trust, we have been delivering elections before. This is not the first time. So I just want to, that's why I said earlier, we are encouraging Sierra Leoneans not to, trace the social media when somebody is saying, don't vote, we are not going to vote, we are not going to accept the cards, okay? It is their right, you can say whatever you want to say, opinions are owned by people, but what we are saying here as a commission is that we make sure that the platform is conducive, the environment is conducive, that people will actually go out to cast their vote, and we make sure as a commission at the end of the day, those votes are actually translated into their voices, not, as people normally say, you go and vote and then the vote happens to go to someone else. We make sure we translate them. That's why at every polling station, the votes are counted at the polling station and the result sheets are filled, and then you even want, you have copies of it being posted on the wall, just for everybody to see. These are our processes that we are going through. And once that is done, those same result forms are going to be shipped to our tally center where political parties again will be seated. They have their own copies. You verify against them. So you make sure that what has come from the field is exactly what we have key into our system that will actually give
Is the commission open at this point to have continued engagement with political parties who happen to be the major players in the field?
We have been on that. There is a PPLC meeting almost every fortnight, and in most of those meetings I do attend to address issues relating to data, and I've been addressing them with some amount of trust and building confidence in them that what comes out June 24 will definitely be monitored by the ECS and make sure that every political party within the ECSL power, make sure that they can have their voters go to those polling stations and cast their vote. The other sector in terms of the security, that's another sector. Right. They also will do their part. But for the ECSL, we make sure your ballot papers at the polling station, the voters who is printed and displayed at polling station, and then we have staff there to process each and every voter that goes.
All right. Let us wrap up. Let's hear from Fatoma. So with all of what is happening, how then do we build trust and confidence in the process? Because that is critical for the nation's peace and the growth of the democracy.
Yeah, that comes clearly with clean elections is one in which rules are rigorously or scrupulously followed, and the outcome is not influenced by any improper or illegal actions. You know, rules has to be followed, and political parties holding on any EMBs, the election management bodies, they should hold them accountable on rules or illegal actions. So if their concerns are legitimate, you know, the judiciary or any other democratic institutions should listen to those concerns. And the way forward in also building a stronger democracy is the way of dialogue. If political parties feels aggrieved, you know, they should first express concern to see how best they want to get the audience of, you know, the election management bodies that they have concerns with, or the issues that they have, we want them to address this. And then failing to do that, it's also their right, their fundamental right, to inform the public about those challenges they're having with such institutions. But then, if we decide to run democracy in a gangster fashion, then definitely, you know, we're creating a situation whereby we want our country to grow, but then we're holding the growth of our country, you know, based on our individual interests. And also, government should rule its own people, you know, by the rules, not by any, you know, imaginations, or neither you think out of the box and think that, no, they are in the minority. No, we're not going to allow them. As far as the law make provisions for them to exist and participate in the process, that process should be free, open, and fair to everyone. So with that, collectively, we'll build a trust. But government will not build a trust, then political party doesn't have a trust. And political party will not build a trust when government do not have a trust building process. So collectively, we need to come together as a country to ensure the guys who are at the ECSL, they are not Guineans, they are Sierra Leoneans. They are our brothers. So let's engage them. The guys who are in the political parties, they are our brothers. Our effort in this election process, we have continued to ask all EMBs and the security sector to continue open their doors to all political parties so that their issues and concerns will be addressed legitimately. And the court should apply fair rules, you know, to every Sierra Leonean who knocked their door, concerns that they have, you know, with regards to the elections or any other issues that they're seeking justice for.
All right.
Just before we let you go, Fatoma, speak to citizens who would hold the view for now that I would rather choose to abstain from the voting process. What would be the impact or consequence of that?
Well, it will greatly help to undermine electioneering process. But then we have seen the result of boycott in this country. Very recently, we don't need to go far way back. You know, very loudly, politicians or some citizens were echoing the concern that people should not participate in the midterm census. We as a country, some of our compatriots were in serious disagreement with the midterm census. And so, government continued to go ahead with the process. And then, political party, politicians, and some citizens, you know, pick up microphones and even do video records, urging their friends, family members not to participate. When the result pop up, then some of those people who were influenced by those who made those pronouncements or announcements or comments started being regret that they were not counted. And we saw what happened. And had it not been also with consultation within civil society organization, political party, and the ECSL. If the ECSL would have decided legally by law to go with the midterm census, it would have been more catastrophic in seat allocation in this country. That would have helped to bring more tension to our electioneering process. But out of that negotiation, we have been able to get a reconsideration to merge the both result 2015 and the midterm census result. With that, they were able to do allocations of seats, which helped to reduce, some of the tensions. So these are some of the fundamental outcomes of people who just sit somewhere or around their devices and broadcast freely that you should not do this. And because of our interest of our political party, and because we feel if it belongs to a certain political party, we have job insecurity in this country. Mind you, some people are not actually killing themselves for this political party. They killed in themselves or defending whatever thing for job security. So the system, the governance system we have helped to create, foreigners are not the ones who have helped us to create this situation. It is ourselves, Sierra Leonean. We have helped to create a system that if you don't belong to this political party, predominantly linked to the Mende tribe, to the Gizi tribe, to the Kono tribe, the Vai tribe, which is the SLPP, so you will not be safer that much to secure a job. Then if you are not a Timini, if you are not a Limba, if you are not a Loko, you are not that much safe. When APC is in power. So we are now fighting actually for job security. So the interest that you see, we compromising standard procedures and rules. Seeing people who are civil servants who are not allowed by code of conduct principles to go out and associate themselves with political parties. They are there clapping and dancing.
All right.
Administration after administration, sadly, we witness those things.
Thank you very much, Fatoma. And just very lastly, Henry,
yeah.
If I and Samuel choose not to vote, does it stop the election process?
It won't stop the election process, but then it won't be good also, as my colleague said, for Sierra Leone's democracy. So it's good to actually take part, make your voice heard, and then also make sure you are part of the the election process. Don't stay away.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being with us. Well, we're going on a quick commercial break and we'll come back for the second and final segment of the program this morning. Stay with us.